Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the Micflayers podcast. And no, this thing on my face is not the third moon of Krynn. Welcome. Today we're going to talk. Today we're going to talk about the brand new Unearthed Arcana that came out this week, Heroes of Krynn Revisited. But before we do, we got to say hi to our co-host, Conor O'Brien. How are we doing today, Conor?
I'm not doing too bad, buddy. That I was of all the intros, I was not expecting that intro. Yes. I'm doing good. I am deep. I am deep in design space, kind of. I'm trying to, but my brain is like, hey, but what if you did other things instead? But I'm trying to get a lot of stuff ready for our upcoming D&D arc in our home game.
You sent me a very cool map.
I revisited because we haven't played it in. We're back in Caelda, which is my kind of Celtic Viking kind of hybrid. Back in your character's homeland, and we haven't been here since we were level 5-ish or something like that. And you are now level 13, 14? 13. Yeah. So it's been a while. It's been like at least maybe even a couple of years. Oh, I think we did that pre-COVID. No, I take it back. We didn't, because and I know this.
Okay, go on.
Because I distinctly remember, did we?
I think we might have been in Caelda pre-COVID, but there's a notebook of doom that I can actually do a quick check on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I'm like, okay, for example, immediately after Caelda, you went back to Rune, the town, and it was under siege by a bunch of undead and a necromancer, and I distinctly remember that you did that battle over Roll20.
Oh, okay.
So,
look what I found. Torch continual flame.
Oh, nice. I was back enough so making physical things. Yeah, so I think that was like that battle definitely was, and only just prior to that, you.
This notebook is my second notebook, rather than the first one, so that doesn't have the Caelda stuff in it.
So either this was the Caelda stuff ended, and we just went into COVID then,
I think,
but it was on the line because I remember you went to the Ordnach, the giant prison afterwards.
I think that might have been our last Caelda session pre-COVID.
No, the Ordnach was definitely digital as well because I drew up 2 maps that I spent a lot of time on, like more time than I really should have realistically for like a single combat
you did
encounter.
a good job because I felt like I was there.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of how they came out, but I'm like, oh, cool. I probably actually only one of them I used, and the second one then ended up not being a combat because you guys were kind of like, oh, these guys look way too tough. Let's try to avoid them because we'll probably die.
They're 3 massive giants, and we were like level 5.
Yeah, and then you guys kind of like avoided them and they just fled the prison instead. And I didn't get to use that second one at all. And I was like, oh, okay. So
level 13 when they come back.
Here's a tip, kids: don't try.
Yeah. Trying is the first step to failure.
Exactly.
Simpson, Homer,
I was quite happy with how they came out, but yeah, the trick to if you ever draw on maps, what I find is the trick to drawing maps is you're better off drawing something that is not too specific. Like if you draw a tomb and it's, I don't know, for talk's sake, it's a tomb about some sort of dragon emperor, and then but the layout of the tomb is roughly shaped like that of a dragon head or something. That's going to be very, very specific to that setting and that one adventure. You're hardly going to go back there multiple times for multiple other things, you know. But if you just draw a generic enough tomb with a sarcophagus at the end of the room, some pillars, and maybe a broken part of the wall and stuff like that, it can be generic enough that you can reuse it in other encounters and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like at least if something built in, you might be able to crack it out again for like a random encounter and maybe like a follow-up campaign or something like that.
That's why I find if you are doing stuff, having whether it's like 3-dimensional tabletop miniature stuff, like environmental stuff you craft yourself or buy, or whether it's even just 2-dimensional stuff, like you can get the little cardstock ones that are like a tree or a cart, and you can just pop them down on your board. But you can move them all around and you can reshape them. Having multiple modular components like that is always really helpful. Sorry, this is not the environmental episode. This is Heroes of Krynn Revisited.
Yes.
Sorry, I went on a bit of a spiel.
No, it's totally fine. I was going to ask you how was the week in D&D was for you anyway. So totally fine. Considering you said we were chatting about making the maps and stuff and updating everything. Completely.
We had I'd say we had a good week in D&D.
Yes.
You guys had a couple of cool combats. You fought some giant eels underwater.
Yes.
You rescued some people from a town that was under attack by giants. You fought a spirit troll. And then your character's apprentice just decided to have a go at you.
Yeah.
And shout at you, and there's
the end of that session was basically, what the hell, Dad?
yeah. Oh God, Dad, you're the worst. Which I was you enjoyed, I think, and I was quite happy about that. But also, I completely blindsided you with it because you had not spoken to this character in some time, which is kind of the crux of the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were. I remember you were coming up out of the flooded dungeon, and you were trying to help him out of the water, and he kind of refused your hand and moved around you and kind of gave you a little bit of a side eye, and then you went and later on, then he was kind of avoiding you, and you were just like, oh, okay, fine, let's go do this. So and
I believe my exact words were, "You, me, talk now."
Yeah. And then he's like, you just don't get me, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a warrior like you, and then you're like, oh God.
Yeah, no, we had a good session my game as well. They successfully defeated Donnerstein, the evil
you sent me a stat block.
Yeah.
That was a hefty stat block too.
Yeah. Everyone in the party except for my rogue went into red on their health bar.
That's if you ask me, that's a. I mean, okay, if you're doing generic combat while you're traveling, or if it's like the first couple of combat encounters in a dungeon or something, whatever, you shouldn't probably be hitting that mark. If you're hitting that on the first combat of a day, you're maybe going a little bit hard, unless it's the only combat in the day and that's the plan. But if you're in the fight with the big bad dude, and then everyone is just about on that line where things are only one bad critical hit away from going really, really bad for you guys. That's the tension. That's the sweet spot. You want to try and get that.
I really tried to kill my sorcerer. I'm going to be honest. I really did. She spent the last, I'd say, 20 minutes of the fight with 9 health. And 3 times I fired at her with like a long range thing that did like 4d12 piercing damage.
Yeah.
Because it was
the bolt throwers.
Yeah, the ogre
bolt throwers.
Ogre bolt launcher or something like that, I think.
Something like that, yeah. They're basically carrying ballistas as crossbows.
I said they were rail guns.
Cool.
But like they have like a really crappy fist attack. It's like 2d4 plus 4. And then they have the bolt launcher attack, which is 3d10 plus 4.
I'm kind of the same with giants. Like, don't get me wrong, regular giants hit pretty hard with their melee weapon, but also like their rock throw attack is stupid powerful and has a really good range.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. But yeah, I brought them all down to, including my blood hunter who worked out. He took 180 points of damage that fight. Down to like red health. And the only reason it wasn't the whole party down in like flashing red health bars was because my rogue has evasion, and he evaded the Thunder Ram special ability, which is like he fires like a lightning elemental shape like a ram out of his chest that like in a line for 60 feet, anything in that line gets knocked up and dealt a shitload of lightning damage. So it was
I feel like Lightning Ram would be the name of a metal band you would listen to.
Well, see, that's hilarious, right? Because the bad guy's name is Donnerstein. That literally means Thunder Ram in German.
Okay, yeah.
And that was inspired by Ramstein, which means battering ram in German.
Okay.
So but the Thunder Ram ability is like 5d. Yeah, it was 5d6 bludgeoning and 5d6 lightning. As you should.
5d6 bludgeoning, 5d6 lightning. So 10d6 is hefty.
Yeah, 10d6, and then like he had a lightning bolt ability on his legendary actions that was like 4d10 lightning damage as well. But like my rogue has evasion, so he makes the dex save for both of those abilities and takes no damage.
Oh, okay, yeah. Man, honestly, I know people say it the whole time, but like for a lot of different classes, like if when a barbarian takes an absolute battering of a rock from a giant, and you're like, that's 50 damage, and they're like, actually it's 25. Yeah. Then like you're like, oh, barbarians are awesome. Yeah. But like You get a similar thing with rogues when you're like,
no other
it's like,
class
here's
can
a
just be
ninth
like,
level firebolt, and you're
yeah,
like, I take no damage.
no other class can be like, yeah, I just dodged that delayed fireball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna roll 12d6, and it's
Yeah,
like cool. I got a 23 on my save, so I guess
yeah.
nothing happened to me.
The aspect team had is a 300-foot cone on her birth weapon, but I have +5 to my dex.
That's the thing. Like for like a lot of those, like for particularly actually when you're fighting dragons, like rogues are,
OP.
by themselves, one on one, no, but when you have the rest of the team to distract, and you can kind of be like, I dodge the breath weapon, which is the main damage dealer, and then I sneak around the side and I get a sneak attack and all that.
Yeah.
Do a Vaxel down in it and slash her like fillet a red
I
dragon
love
like
that
a
fight.
fish from like neck to tail,
Yeah. No, it's yeah, like I don't think I'll ever forget the I remember the first time we ran into Mirnax, the fire dragon in campaign 1. And
Yeah.
I remember we were all like, we were running, we were trying to get from like point A to like this cave or something.
Yeah,
that we
on the
could,
far end of a valley,
and
a small
there was
valley.
there was just a big stretch of open terrain, and he like flew behind us as we were running to try and get away. I remember he like swept down over us once, did his breath attack, and it was like, all right, roll dex saves, and like I failed, but because I was playing a paladin, everyone else in the party passed because of my bonuses.
Yeah.
So like the monk and the rogue took no damage, and the sorcerer took half damage, and I was just like, I'm dying here, and like I was like, okay, you know, it's fine. I survive. I'm the tank. This is my job. Like lay on hands, heal myself, all that good shit.
So someone went down in that encounter when the dragon was it you? Yeah.
Yeah, the second time he lit me on fire.
Yeah, and
When
I
that
remember
when that happened again, when the whole party passed again, and I failed.
Yeah, and I remember because like the monk can dash with some key points, and the rogue can dash as a bonus action and an action, and just absolutely hoof it. But I remember you went down, and it was a case of like you're in heavy plate armor, and you're the big strong one. No one else is strong enough to carry you effectively. But then that's when Mike busts out Dimension Door as the sorcerer.
Oh my god!
And I think he actually asked me because he does this. He asked me the question, and when I say, "Oh, you're probably about 200 feet from the entrance," he's like, "Cool, I'll cast Dimension Door, 500-foot range," and I'm like, "Okay." And he just grabbed a hold of you and just teleports you to the cave.
Yeah, man, that first campaign was so much fun. Like this one is awesome too. It's just that one just has also the layers of nostalgia to be like, man.
I think I frequently think about this actually about how much fun the first campaign was, and like, am I living up to that this campaign? Like, am I doing things differently to the fact where maybe it's not as fun, or is it just because we all know the game so well at this point, like that some of the surprise element is gone?
It's probably like little column A, little column B, if I'd say.
Yeah. There's definitely like I'm always looking to like refine or fine tune my gaming style, because I don't ever want to like fall into. It's why I like playing with new people every now and again, because they will often bring up a challenge that hasn't come up with our regular game, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that before, or that's something I didn't try in my regular party, now I can try that. And I usually check in with you guys like once every couple of months, and I'll just send a message individually, not in our group chat. I'll send it individually to each person and be like, hey, just checking in. How are you feeling about the campaign right now? Is there anything that like isn't settling well with you or whatever? And I'll just take people's kind of feedback and stuff like that on board, because I want to make sure people are enjoying it. And yeah, that's a good tip I think for any DM out there actually. Is
I was just about to say that actually that's like a really, really good thing for any DM too.
I never want to be. I joke about it a lot. I do joke about it a lot, but I never want to be the person who thinks he's the best DM ever and doesn't need to change.
Yeah.
I will often crack jokes about how I'm the most amazing DM ever, but I am joking when I say that. Really, what I am is I'm always keeping in the back of my head like that. There's fallibility there.
Yeah.
I can make mistakes. I have, and probably more frequently than you guys see, I make mistakes. I'm just good at hiding them.
Well, we only know if you tell us as well, like.
Which I have an awful problem as a dungeon master where like I'm a person I'm in favor of a DM screen. I like having that separation, but I'm also the DM who will reach over the DM screen and be like, "Hey, did you see how I did that thing? I did it like this," and because I'm too excited for why this thing worked or how this story thing worked out, and I'll be like, "Because you guys don't know this, but on the back end, this character was thinking this," and I'm like, I can't help myself, and I hate it. I wish I could just take 2 seconds, take a deep breath. I did not do that because I feel like when I do, I'm pulling back the curtain and revealing the wizard. You know?
Oh yeah, totally. Jeez, that's a hell of a euphemism if you intended it that way.
What?
I'm pulling back the curtain and revealing the wizard.
The Wizard of Oz. It was a Wizard of Oz reference, Martin.
Yeah.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
But yeah, it was pretty fun. Pretty fun week for both of us. So in D&D. But yeah, I suppose we could probably talk about like Heroes of Krynn now. Seeing as that's what the actual episode is about. So one thing to shout out, I suppose, right away, and we were actually talking about this before we started recording. With this one, a notable absence from, notable rather than noticeable, absence from the revisited one and the original Heroes of Krynn is the complete absence of the lunar magic subclass. So that was your moon sorcerer.
Yes, we talked about that a lot. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it was. We both agreed. Seems very, very powerful, very fun. Lots of utility.
Super versatile.
Yes,
super versatile. In not like, depending on how it orientates itself, potentially very good in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, like if you were to force, like gun to my head, play a sorcerer now, I'd be like, all right, lunar magic sorcerer, because it's just so cool. It's so useful, and like every world has a moon. Every single world has a moon. You can chuck that in.
Don't, Martin. What if that is a setting right there?
I was going to say it. Then you are the avatar of an ancient moon god, come back to restore the balance in the universe and bring the moon back to the night sky.
That's actually a really bloody cool setup for a personal character adventure. It's like, the moon in this world doesn't exist. So when the sun sets, it is sheer darkness. There is absolutely no source of light. And maybe vampires roam the land or something like that.
Or there was a divine war eons ago, and like the moon god was slain during the war, and that's why there's no moon anymore. But their essence lives on, and so has been reborn. And this child, who is the chosen avatar of this fish girl from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My girlfriend became the moon. Oh, that's rough, buddy.
Oh, it's still like some of the best lines in all of fiction. But yes, this time the girlfriend did not become the moon. It's just that the lunar magic subclass was so good and got such good feedback, they just went, right, we're definitely making this. And they just took it out.
They straight up said it in the article. Yeah. They're like, it got such good feedback, we're not even bothering to put it in the revisited thing. We don't need to think it needs to be changed. That's just it's good, it's fine.
Yeah, the exact wording is the lunar magic subclass that appeared in our previous Heroes of Krynn article scored so well that it's moving forward in our development process and doesn't appear here. Which means that everything else you see here didn't score so well in the initial one.
I mean, I wouldn't say it didn't score terribly or anything, because normally if they do score terribly, they just don't show up again.
But
in a different way, you know, like, because there were some subclasses that I really liked around pre-Xanathars, that I thought were really fun and very flavorful and all that, and they just never showed up again, even for a revised or revisited thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm so happy they shit-canned the Mystic. The Mystic was the most confusing class I've ever read.
I must have read the Mystic like 10 times, and it is a class that has no, you know, when you pick a class, you can kind of like, you go, I'm gonna be a barbarian, so your role is kind of like tank and a little bit of damage dealer, and you're mostly this damage sponge. Yeah. Or I'm gonna be the wizard, and you're like, cool, I'm either gonna be like a blaster where I'm hitting people with heavy magic damage, or I'm going to be like the utility guy with a bunch of different spells for flying and levitating and knock and all this other kind of stuff. And then when you look at the Mystic, I'm like, I don't know what this person is meant to be. Like, I don't, because I had like 9 subclasses.
Yeah, I think I read it like 4 times, and I still couldn't figure out how stuff worked. And I'm like, that's a big problem, because I'm someone who's experienced in I was pretty experienced in D&D by that time as well. I think that came out like, what would I do? Like 2-3 years ago. This probably like 5 years ago. This is the goddamn pandemic.
We were in the second apartment, I think.
Yeah, it was around the time Xanathars came out, I think.
Yeah, maybe just prior to Xanathars.
Yeah, probably just before, just afterwards. But yeah,
either way, it was the kind of thing where like, it just there was so many subclasses, and every subclass felt like it was meant to be from a different class.
Yeah.
Like there was one of them that was straight up kind of like the Avatar, as in like, you know, Avatar Aang kind of thing, where it had elemental powers. But then there was also one that was like really good at like like psychic stuff and mind control. Like it was kind of meant to be an enchanter wizard.
Yeah, like,
And then another one that was like kind of rogue-ish.
wasn't there one where you like manifested some kind of creature body around your own body, and you had these big like force spike legs and stuff? You were like some kind of like.
Oh, I'd have to go back and look. It's been so
Yeah,
long.
that's like that, but that's literally the only thing I can remember from that class. But yeah, I suppose the reason we bring it up is like, so we've seen other stuff that didn't score so well just be like sent off to a farm. You know,
Rip Flame Sorcerer.
yes,
There was a Flame, Earth, and Sea Sorcerer, and I actually loved all three of them, and none of them made it in.
The Rune Knight originally started out as the Giant Soul Sorcerer as well.
Oh, that's right. Actually, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Which was a weird one because it still had the growth thing, but I'm like, why does a like it would just
You were
make
a
a
tank
sorcerer
sorcerer.
bigger?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was weird.
like it made no sense because like sorcerers are not melee, so why would you need to be bigger in combat? You know, and it was a strange one. It made way more sense for a fighter who can now control the battlefield better with bigger reach and stuff.
Yes, but the reason I bring it up is that like we don't often get these revisited ones. I can think of like I can only think of about like 3 off the top of my head, I think.
Yeah, true. We mostly it's kind of like you get the one and then they release a survey a week later or whatever it is, and then you either see them again or you don't. Occasionally, I find that if they do release stuff again for like another round where they kind of revise it and stuff, it's usually because they have a really strong feeling that this would be a good class or theme, and they want to make it work.
Yeah,
which is why I suppose I get why
that's why they do
the Earth, Fire, and Water Sorcerer didn't make it, because they were more, maybe they were just peripheral ideas, and maybe they thought they were a bit too generic or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you're intentionally going into it, well, like I'm going to design 4 separate subclasses, but each of them is basically the same. I just swap out the element.
Well, they were very different. Well, the Fire and Water were somewhat different. The Earth one made the Sorcerer partially paladin-like.
Okay, yeah.
They were able to use martial weapons, and they learned some of the smite abilities, some of the smite spells. And as if you're a sorcerer, you obviously have a lot of spell slots, so you can hit with those smite things quite a lot. I just thought it was a cool one, and it was just like, it was, you know how like if you look at Arcane Trickster, as rogue, it's like, what if you were rogue but with a little bit of wizard sprinkled on top? This was like, what if you were sorcerer but with a little bit of paladin sprinkled on top? You know, totally. And it was, I personally thought it was a great class. I even made an NPC in this world. You know, I forget her name now. You know, she was in Rune. She's she's Goliath.
Yes, Halsa.
I made her into one of those. I just copied down the abilities and stuff like that and made her into a sorcerer that wields a shield and a hammer and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, so like we know they're not like shy about just knocking stuff on the head and being like, yeah, this isn't working, this is going away, this can't. So when they do, like I said, when they do come back with a revisited one, it's usually that they've gotten negative feedback on something that they think really has value and worth to it, and maybe something they want to explore more. So just giving it a look straight up here. 23 minutes into the podcast. I'm
rambly today. Get off my back.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I'm gonna need you to get way off of my back there.
Yeah.
Good old Ryan George. But yeah, so as I said, the lunar subclass for sorcerer is not included in the revisited. But what we do have is the similar kind of stuff about like creating your character and all that comes up. We have some changes to the Kender, which are pretty interesting. And then what this mainly focuses on really is the Dragonlance backgrounds, and some shifting around and changes that have been made to those backgrounds. That's, to be honest, I'm quite excited about, because it was in a Nerd Immersion video that I was watching. Ted from Nerd Immersion was like made the point that like this may be like an indication of where they want to take base, not 5e, but like maybe 5.5 or 6e in the future. And we can kind of get around to that once we're talking about the backgrounds and stuff. But yeah, first up we have the Kender. So with the Kender, in case you haven't seen our previous episode related to this, you should absolutely go and watch, because we talk a lot about the lunar subclass in there. That's really, really cool. But the Kender are basically like smaller humanoids that have they have like a tendency for like they have a proclivity for like tinkering and always having their like tool on hand and that kind of stuff. They're basically sort of like dwarves or halflings, really. But
They're halfling adjacent, I would say. Yeah,
they're like techie
they're naturally
halflings, I guess.
curious. They have they love carrying trinkets and curiosities and stuff with them, which is where one of their abilities came from, and an ability that they no longer have, which I think is it's not the in my opinion it's kind of the main change that we have here. Now, arguably, they've changed it from something that was quite interesting but not very useful to something that's quite generic but definitely more useful.
Yeah, they just did
Which
the old
is they,
switcheroo. Useful but not super interesting.
yeah. So it's not the first thing on the list, but the Kender Ace, which was something they got a third level last time,
Yes.
where they could reach into a bag or a pocket or a container as a bonus action, and they can roll on a d6 table to decide do you pull out one item from the trinkets table, one simple weapon of your choice, 5d6 gold pieces, and so on. There's a bunch of different stuff, and then after an hour, those objects disappear. They're magical objects you just produce from your. It's almost like that. What's that? That patchwork cloak.
Oh,
Is it the cloak of useful items or something like that?
Cloak of useful items. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit like that, but at least with you have set patches on the cloak where you know what you're pulling off. Whereas this was very.
Random.
I honestly can't remember what I said about it last time. I feel like I gave out about it because
I think we were both quite positive about it last time, actually. From
Oh,
what
was I?
remember.
Okay, so I'm looking at it now and I have a completely different opinion about it.
I distinctly remember us being like, "Isn't it hilarious that you could just be like, crap, I need to bribe this guard. 30 gold."
Yeah, but I mean, like the problem is you have to roll on a table, and I mean, like okay. So number one is 5d6 gold pieces, and like in any given scenario, okay. Matt, do you have a dice picture?
Who do you think I am? Of course I am.
Okay,
I have a literal pint glass of dice.
Okay, I'm gonna give you and hopefully you're not too good at the game that you completely show me up here. I'm gonna give you a scenario, and you're gonna roll on this table as a Kender and tell me how you're gonna solve the situation. Okay?
All right.
Okay.
What's my Kender's name?
You tell me. It's your character.
Bender.
Bender the Kender. Sure. Okay. Here's the scenario. You are walking down a country road. You've just the clothes on your back, right?
Okay.
And you spy something shiny in the forest, so you go to investigate. And as you do, you find yourself falling into a pit trap. Pit trap is 20 feet deep. You take a couple d6 damage, which are okay. You're not unconscious or anything. And then when you look around to try and climb your way out, you're like, oh, these walls are way too steep and it's all mud. It just keeps falling away. How am I going to climb out of this hole? Roll a d6.
All right. I'm just gonna say there's a number on this where if I get it, the problem is solved. Oh dear. I need to grab that dice. I don't know where it's at. Right. I got it. All right. Glass table and a plastic dice. They bounce high.
Oh yes, of course.
Let's see. Damn it! I really wanted to get the one that would literally just solve.
I
This
know.
like, it's number 5. Like it's the grappling hook.
Yeah.
I was so hoping I'd roll a 5 and smugly go. I'll take the grappling hook and I will get out of the pit.
What did you roll?
I rolled a 3, which is one item of choice. Oh, actually, this works perfectly. From the adventuring gear, I'd pick pittance.
You pick pittance.
Yeah. Push him into the wall.
Damn
You've handholds. I know, like I would, if I did that, and if someone did that in my party and I was a DM, I'd be like, okay, they hold for a time, because it's mud.
It's mud. Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Also, I'm pretty sure adventuring gear I could
you
pick
happen to get the one. You happen to get one of the few things, right? But here's the thing: if you got number 1,
Yeah.
you got some gold pieces. That's
Yes,
not
I
going to
did.
help. You can't bribe the hole to let you out.
No, you can't.
If you got 2, you get a simple weapon of your choice that has the light properties. So a dagger, a single dagger, a sickle, or something. You know, there's a lot of stuff there that I don't know that
Bow
it
staff?
would have. A what?
A bow staff? Does a bow staff have the light?
Not light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we go to, you got one where you can pick one from the table.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4 is one random item from the trinkets table. So that's like a lock of hair, an old medal, a little carved figurine. You know, nothing's going to help you there.
Okay, right. But like, what if you're like trying to convince like an older NPC to get on your side, and they're like, "Oh God, we need to show them that they can trust us," and your Kender just goes, "Look, it's your daughter's locket."
Well, okay, here's the thing. Like, are you manifesting real world items or just producing something unique for a short time?
It's the second one. The object glimmers softly and disappears after an hour. So you need to make your escape pretty quickly.
But like, see, that's the thing. And then a tools table from the player's handbook. I mean, like, you could maybe argue that like if you got carpenter's tools, you could use a couple chisels to kind of like climb your way out of something. But like, again, it's a bit of a stretch and it's messy and it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
So there's at least 3, if not 4 of those there that would be absolutely no use to you if you roll them, you know?
Yeah.
Likewise, it's a situation where you're like, oh, you need to go through this portcullis into the town, but the guard is like, sorry, no, we're not letting in, you know, wanderers and travelers. The town is closed, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, I'll try and roll. How will this go? And you get the gold pieces. Great, I can bribe them with the gold pieces. But then, like,
you there, sir,
you get
would you like a grappling hook?
Yeah, exactly. Or then you're like, okay, I got a simple weapon, and it's like, oh, here's a dagger. I guess I could stab him with it, but then you're immediately starting a fight. And then like, oh, I got myself some, I don't know, smith's tools.
You draw a dagger, walk around the corner, stab yourself in the stomach, and then collapse backwards around the corner, going, help! And then they drag you inside and heal you.
Here's the thing. I don't even know how I would rule that. I would be like, yeah, I don't know. I'd be like, do you actually stab yourself?
Yeah, I do it. 100% I do.
You're mad. I don't know.
See, this is why I don't play rogues and stuff, man, because I'll just do really crazy stuff.
It's just, I feel like the whole ability was just really like wild, and you had to stretch the bounds of reality an awful lot to kind of make stuff happen. Whereas they upgraded, or not, it's upgraded, it's a bit of a lateral move, is now Kinder Curiosity. And thanks to your mystical origin of your people, you gain proficiency in one of the following: Insight, Investigation, Sleight of Hand, Stealth, or Survival. Which are all great abilities, but
it's so much more value, realistically speaking, as well.
It does, and like all of them are ones people actually roll frequently. It's not like one of them is animal handling. No offense to animal handling, but no one ever uses animal handling.
It's the elemental monk and animal handling for you, just right here, and then the arcane archer's like here.
Do I hate the arcane archer more than the elemental monk?
No, you definitely hate the elemental monk more, I'd say.
I definitely want the elemental monk to be better more. Yeah. So my hatred probably comes from the fact that I it's like I know your potential, monk. I know you can do this. Why are you the way you are? I'm a disappointed father. I'm like, you have so much potential. Why are you wasting it?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, no. She's that Kinder Curiosity.
That just derailed you. I apologize.
You entirely killed whatever sentence I had going in my head there. But no, it's totally fine. Yeah. I entirely agree. Like, while I like kind of the gimmicky nature of the D6, and like I'm a sucker for a D6 table. I love rolling a D6 on the table.
Yeah,
like,
same. I like the element of randomness, and the element of chaos that goes along with it.
But like I do like you said it was a lateral move. I think in terms of usability, it's a big upgrade. And I think at least I maybe was pretty positive about the Ken race.
I can't remember when I reread it today for the first time in a few weeks. I was like, that's dumb.
I think we're just like, oh, isn't this so cool and quirky and unique? And like now we're just like, it's not mechanically good.
Once the quirkiness wears off, you're like, it's not mechanically sound. No, I feel like, yes, it is mechanically better now. You're going to get more use out of an insight or a sleight of hand or stealth check or whatever.
100%.
But I feel like in terms of because that was a very unique ability that they got there, very interesting, but just like not usable enough. Whereas now we get something very, very generic as an ability, which is just one extra proficiency. But the selection we have there are very good selections to pick from. So it's like better usefulness, far less interesting. So kind of even that's why I say it's a lateral move in my mind.
Yeah. Okay. No, I totally get what you mean there. And there's a couple other changes made to the Kender as well. One of which is just a straight buff, which is awesome.
Totally.
So in the previous version, Heroes of Krynn, Kender had Brave, which is you have advantage on saving throws made to avoid or end the frightened condition on yourself. Now,
it's same as the halfling ability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry, yeah, exactly the same as the halfling ability. Now they've just straight up changed that. You're no longer brave; you are fearless because you are now immune to the frightened condition. Which
You
is
straight up cannot be frightened. Yeah.
that's so good. Like as someone who played Paladin for like 17 levels, like dear God, being immune to fear is like one of the best things in the world.
I barely used in the first campaign. I barely used fear at all because I'm like, there's no point because I think it was your aura, wasn't it? And like it gave it to all your allies as well. So the whole party was basically immune to fear.
Yeah, it was. Like I think it's like a 10th level.
Is it a vengeance?
Yeah,
I think it's a
no,
vengeance paladin, right?
it's a base. I think it's a base paladin thing, isn't it? Aura of courage.
We're gonna find out.
I think it's base paladin. No.
Base paladin. Base paladin. You have 6th level.
I think it's either level 9 or level 10. I think.
I think it was this. I might have been specifically a vengeance thing. Hold on now.
Okay. That I suppose that makes sense. The auras
no.
do. No.
No, here we go. Nope. Sorry, hold on, please. I apologize. No, this is your. It's definitely something. You were immune to it for a reason. I'm looking here. It's not to do with your subclass anyway, so it's got to be the base.
Yeah,
paladin.
I'm fairly certain it's just a base paladin thing. When you hit a certain level of paladin, you're just immune to fear.
Yeah, channel protection. Oh, here we go. Aura of courage. Yeah. Starting 10th level, you and friendly creatures within 10 feet of you cannot be frightened while you are conscious.
Yeah.
And at 18, that expands to 30 feet. So, like, because you guys would just be grouped up and, like, a dragon's frightful presence or any other, someone casting this fear spell, there was just no point at all because you basically made the whole. All you had to do as well is, like, if someone was feared, walk over to them and then stop being afraid.
I didn't even have to walk over. I just had to shift the last 5 feet of the aura on them.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like, as long as you can just get them into the aura, and again, when you hit a high enough level, it just got so big. Then like everyone was. Although you never hit 18.
I never, because I went 3 levels of warlock.
You went 3 levels of warlock. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, that's a very long-winded, rambly, roundabout way of us saying being immune to fear is really awesome.
It is really good. It is really good.
Like a drag, like Conor said, like a dragon's frightful presence. Every single dragon has frightful presence nearly,
and they get to use it. Like, if you look at their multi-attack feature of pretty much every dragon,
frightful presence.
The dragon uses frightful presence and then makes its either breath weapon or does its like 1 bite 2 claw attack thing. Yeah,
exactly.
So it gets to use it the whole time, and it makes a difference because if in the opening round of combat, like if you have 4 or 5 people in the party and 2 or 3 of them fail that, now you have a fighter and an archer, and the fighter can't get in close enough to do any attacks in the first round. And the archer is making all its attacks with disadvantage because the source of its fear is within range. So immediately that puts a huge dampener on the action economy of the party.
It entirely changes like everyone's plans as well. Because like you're saying, if a melee, if it's 2 fighters, one's melee and one's an archer. Like the archer can still hit, but now the archer is disadvantaged on everything they're going to do. So they're probably not going to, if they have any like special like arrows that they had bought, they're probably not going to use them till they're immune to fear. So your creature's going to take less damage and straight up on the front. Similarly with your melee characters, a feared melee character basically can do jack shit unless they're feared when they're right in front of the creature. And even then, all your attacks, like fear is so useful. Fear is so useful, and to just straight up have it baked into your base, race, legacy, whatever you want to call it, that you're immune to it. So good, so good. And as well as that, then we also had a slight change to another ability that Kendra had that I actually really liked as well. Because I'm a fan of anything that gives you this feature, which is taunt. Anything I'm like, I think there should be more of this personally in D&D. Like I feel like you should have more ways to taunt a creature and make them unable to get away from you, and like have to fight you. Then
you had Vow of Enmity in the first one, and Abjure Enemy. I'm thinking of. Sorry.
No, that was just a fear thing. It was
Which one was?
the vengeance thing was if at a certain, when I was a high enough level, if I used my vow on someone to get it, so I'd always have advantage, then I could follow them if I opportunity attacked
I'm
them.
thinking of Compelled Duel,
Yeah,
which is a
compelled
spell.
compelled duel is decent, but like it's not a very powerful spell, and like it's just not it's not super reliable and it's not super powerful, so it's eh. And then like you've kind of like semi taunt stuff like we were talking before with the like the ancestral guardian barbarian who can like be like, oh okay, so you want to hit them, you have to kind of go through me first, kind of, unless your attack modifier is high enough that you can just be like nah.
Well, it's either they attack you, which will be a normal roll and all that stuff, or they attack someone else, but they have disadvantage on the roll, and they also all the damage they do is halved because that the target of that is always going to have resistance to all damage done by someone who is has the effect on them.
Yeah, I think the only
it's really
actual
good.
straight up taunt in 5e that I've seen now is Ashton in Critical Role. His barb subclass straight up has a "you can't get away from me" feature.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. I think it's his gravity rage.
I'm still really behind on Critical Role, but I know he's using a homebrew class of mats, right?
Yeah, I actually sent it to our D&D chat. I found it. I think I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's like
is it called like the seismic path of the seismic or path of the? It's something like earthquake and gravity related and stuff like that.
I think
like,
I'm literally googling now.
I remember we were like we did a poll with our D&D group when the new campaign was starting, and we were trying to predict what is each person going to play between race and class and stuff like that. And then by the time it actually came around, so many of us were like, oh, we still don't know because they're being really secretive about this, because we knew there what classes most of them were playing, but not what subclasses, because half of them were playing
Got it.
homebrew subclasses and everything.
It's the path of fundamental chaos.
Path of fundamental chaos.
Yeah, and he's got like four. There we go. Barbarian. Yeah, path of fundamental chaos. Chaos burst. Add 2d4 damage to an attack with a melee weapon twice a day. Damage type apparently depends on a roll die and includes lightning, force, cold, fire, and psychic. 4 rage builds determined randomly by rolling a d4 whenever Ashton begins raging. Orbital decay, which is gravity, this is the one I think has the taunt. When raging, light seems to bend around Ashton's form. The air around their head becomes black and white, and gravity seems to have more of a pull for everyone in the room, including allies. Enemies within 15 feet seem to be pulled towards Ashton and suffer disadvantage on attacks against creatures other than Ashton. And that's 1 out of 4 of his rages. It's like
did you say he gets a thing where he rolls 2d4 and the damage is determined by the 2d4?
So
that's very similar to Chaos Bolt.
It's called Chaos Burst, and yeah, it's an additional 2d4 damage, and you roll a dice to determine the damage type. So like I said, lightning, force, cold, fire, and psychic.
Chaos Bolt does something similar.
Yeah, you roll
because the damage
is
2d8 plus. Yeah, exactly. It's 2d8 plus 2 plus a d6 damage.
Yeah,
and then
if you roll doubles,
you choose one of the d8s.
But also if you roll doubles, the bolt duplicates itself and makes another one.
It leaps from the target to another target within 30 feet.
Yeah.
And can potentially string as many times, I guess, as you get doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a great spell. It's really fun.
Yeah, but the reason we have to go looking for that now is because like this is one of the few other things in 5e where you have a taunt, and the way it used to work was quite similar to the Ancestral Guardian thing, where it's basically as a bonus action. This is the old one now. As a bonus action, you can unleash a barrage of insults at a creature within 60 feet, so it's got a hell of a long range. That can hear and understand you. Target must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw. DC is equal to 8 plus proficiency plus your charisma, or it has disadvantage on attack rolls until the start of your next turn. So I just had that straight up. It was all attack rolls. It's a minor nerf. It's now even more like the Ancestral Guardian raid, like one part of the Ancestral Guardian rage, where now it's target must succeed on a Wisdom save, or it has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you. In terms of how the save DC is worked out, it's the exact same as well. And you can use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and you regain all expended juices on a long rest, which is, as we've kind of mentioned a couple of times, seems to be how they're designing things now, which is really good.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we talked about it with all the new races and stuff. The fact that you can use their inherent race abilities multiple times per short and long rest now is just absolutely brilliant. I do love the conceptual idea of Ashton being an Earth Ganassi and having gravity powers. Like he is a body of Earth, like a planet, and has his own gravitational field. Is a super cool idea.
His excuse me, he's got a lot of really really cool rage powers that
Yeah.
it's like a legit, you have to do the thing with Critical Role that they did with like Blood Hunter and Cobalt Soul and Oath of the Open Sea, where all those go into D&D Beyond shortly after or during that campaign. Be prepared for the Path to Fundamental Chaos to be the de facto best barbarian in the game. Like, full on, it will be.
Yeah. Actually, this is a bit off topic out of curiosity. Of the people that are there, we have how many unique subclasses do we have there? Is Laura's sorcerer, has that been confirmed? Aberrant Mind?
I think so. But
Right.
I think it's also like, I'm now, bear in mind, I think the last episode of Critical Role I watched in full was 17, and that was on Paddy's Day. That aired on Paddy's Day, and it's now May.
The 1st of May.
Yeah, so I'm a bit behind.
Okay.
I'm a bit behind, but from what I understand, I think everyone else is like rules official classes.
It's Ashton and
Fresh Grass.
Yeah, he's
a
a unique type of cleric as well.
Yeah, he is. He's less like a cleric and more like a therapist. It's really cool.
Yeah. I do like it. Yeah, sorry. Let's jump back into this. We're getting derailed like crazy today. We haven't been this bad in a while.
No, we haven't been this bad in a while, but it's okay. So where the real like meat of this Unearthed Arcana and where like the real interesting stuff is in the backgrounds. So like last time, the backgrounds we got were there's so much lunar magic. We got the Knight of Solomonia and we got the Mage of High Sorcery. So in the revamped ones, I believe we still have. Yeah,
it's the same too, but they're slightly different, I think, in some of their.
Yeah, it's the Knight and the Mage still. And then we also actually get a list of specific feats for Dragonlance that I assume will come out with whatever the Dragonlance book is going to be. I think it's just called Heroes of Krynn, actually.
Yes, I think that's the definitive title, but they haven't because they released it. But there's no cover art for it because it was just a black cover when they showed it at D&D Direct.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where things get really, really interesting. So before we get into exactly the Knight and the Mage of High Sorcery, now we have Dragonlance backgrounds, and so this section presents 2 new backgrounds for characters from the world of Krynn. The Knight of Solomonia and the Mage of High Sorcery. When you make a character participating in the War of the Lance, choose one of the backgrounds in this section or select a background from the player's handbook or another source, which is very, very cool and interesting. So now what happens is bonus feats. Whatever background you choose for your War of the Lance character, you gain bonus feats as detailed below. Characters involved in this conflict are forced into remarkable situations and changed by their experiences. Which I don't know about you, Conor, but that's basically the general description of a D&D campaign.
Selective feat. Wait, say that again.
No,
sorry.
Like the way that ends, like right, like so. The last sentence there. Characters involved in this conflict are forced into remarkable situations and changed by their experiences. That's basically.
That's just a definition of a character.
But also, just like you're forced into not everyone is forced into a remarkable situation, but that's literally just like that's a 2-line description of of what happens to your character over the course of a D&D campaign, like.
Yeah, true.
Which,
it's a weird thing to include. It's like they might as well say, oh, by the way, don't forget to roll up a character and pick some stats and stuff. Because, well, obviously, you know.
I suppose I guess I thought I was being a little cleverer than I was there. But but what I mean is like.
You were being clever there. I'll be perfectly honest. I zoned out there for a second and I was not paying attention.
It's okay, buddy. It happens.
I was reading something else on the old sheet here, and I got distracted. I apologize.
It's all good. But yeah, anyway, to get to the point of it. So first level bonus feat. If you select the Knight of Solomonia or Mage of High Sorcery, you gain the bonus feat specified in the background. If the background you choose doesn't provide a feat, you gain a bonus feat of your choice from the following list. So let's say let's say like for whatever reason you decide to run a third campaign and we run a Dragonlance campaign and we're making our characters, and I decide to be I like, and we're all picking our backgrounds, and like I pick a character and I decide I don't want to be a Knight of Solomonia, I want to be a haunted one, or what one did I give here? Yeah, a haunted one, or like a fire traveler, soldier, guildmaster, spy, criminal, entertainer, any of those, right? I can still use that in the Ward Lance, and I really like it because like they so easily could have just done the Dragonlance ones. They so easily could have been, you pick these two Dragonlance backgrounds, you get these feats. But I love that they put in additional ones to specify, right? So the one at first level you can choose these feats, and they depend on what you pick. So divinely favored, which is from this document, skilled and tough, which are from the player's handbook. Like at level 1 to get tough because of your background is
skilled as well.
Sick.
Skilled gives you 3 proficiencies in skills.
Yeah,
like if you pick something like a rogue, which gets 3 as well, and then you get like you'll probably get 1 or 2 from your background, like naturally, and then maybe your race has 1, depending on what race you pick, and then you get 3 more on top of that. You're talking about having like maybe 10 proficiencies at level 1. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's really, really, really good. And just for reference on that one, the divinely favored feat is a god has chosen you to carry a spark of your divine power. You learn 1 cantrip of your choice from the cleric spell list and 1 first level spell based on the alignment of your character. And this is laid out in the alignment spells table below. You also learn augury, which is a really useful spell.
That actually changed as well.
Oh, it did.
So previous, because I actually noticed this a while ago when I was going through it. So sorry, now I'll bring up the 2 together. Where are we? The feat is called
Divinely Favored.
Divinely Favored. So previously, that used to be, depending on, like you said, it's based on your alignment, whether it's evil, good, or neutral. Choose 1 first level spell, and then you can either have Warlock for evil, good for cleric, or neutral druid. Or you can pick from the wizard. Each one is Warlock and Wizard, Cleric and Wizard, Druid or Wizard. So you get from those lists. They've just dropped Wizard entirely off all 3 of them now, and you can only pick from Warlock, Cleric, or Druid, which is interesting.
They still do also have the feature that you can actually choose to use a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus for any spell you use when you pick this, for any spell you cast, using the ability you got from this feat too, which is a nice little flavor thing.
That's actually, that I was looking at that a while ago, and like that's a really nice kind of just little general housekeeping thing, because the way that they phrased that means that because you're divinely favored, you can be like, how do I put this? You can be, normally if you're like a wizard, for example, you're more about, I studied this stuff. I don't cast it because my god allows me to. I cast this because I studied what the spell needs to happen, and then I reproduce those effects and so on.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that says you can't be a wizard now who is what you call it. No, this is something that like you could your DM would probably allow anyway if you really wanted to. But in hard rules, rules is written now, it can be done. The way it says your spellcasting ability. In addition, you can use a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus for any spell you cast that uses the spellcasting ability chosen when you select this feat. Presumably, when you select that feat, if you're playing a wizard, you're going to pick intelligence because you want the spell you get from the druid spell list to use intelligence instead of wisdom, or likewise for warlock or whatever. And that means that all the other spells you can naturally cast as a wizard, you can also use your holy symbol for instead.
Yes, actually, yeah, that's like super useful.
Because it's every spell you can cast that uses intelligence as your ability. And again, likewise, if you were playing a sorcerer, you could pick charisma and so on. But I think it's very cool.
I think it's really, I think that stuff like this, I think is always in particular additionally beneficial to sorcerers, because they don't get to change out their spell list anywhere near as often as other classes, and they have a lower number of spells known, I think, as well.
They also don't get to use do sorcerers get spellcasting focuses? Am I just completely off the beaten track here?
I'm going to show my lack of knowledge, but I don't believe a sorcerer needs a spellcasting focus because the magic comes from within. Rather, it's a part of their natural body, rather than say like a warlock that channels it through an arcane focus, or a wizard that uses a spellbook. Or a cleric that uses a
can. It's here. you can use an arcane focus seen in the adventure and gear as a spellcasting focus. And personally, the choice between an arcane focus, a component pouch, a druid spellcasting focus, which is different because it's like a sprig of holly or something,
Yeah.
or a
A
holy
raven's
symbol,
skull.
or a flute because you're a bard. The difference between all of them has always seemed arbitrary to me. If anyone in my game was playing a bard and it's like, I'd like to use like a wizard staff as a bard, I'm like, yeah, you go for it. I have no problem with that.
I,
Or,
I, I
or
would be like, you can use it on one condition. You have to hollow the top out and drill holes down the side.
you can play it like a huge kind of weapon.
A
Yeah,
great
like
feat.
I'd really have no problem with that. And same thing, like if someone was like playing, like I said, a wizard, and they were like, "Oh, I'm a wizard, and I'm very into like knowledge and all that, but I actually worship the god of knowledge.
Yeah.
But I don't want to play a knowledge cleric. Instead, I'm going to be like, but I'd still like for to use a holy symbol. I'd be like, yeah, sure, absolutely, go for it. Like, no problem.
Yeah, no, like I like that. I like I just like that they seem to be building in more and more, particularly with like the way they changed how picking your race and your racial bonuses work, and like feats and stuff like that. How they changed that, and now how they're changing like backgrounds. If this isn't like Ted from Nerd Immersion was saying it, he said that like this bit in particular was the bit that really, really, really excited him, because first of all, it's just really cool. You get a feat of first level, you get a feat of fourth level, and then after that, you get all your ASIs. So like, it's really, really nice. Like, because that way by fourth level, you have a fairly complete character. Because like between your race, your class, your background, and now the two feats your background is going to give you, you've a really well fleshed out character there. Just in
You
terms
get,
of
you know, the way this background gives you a feat at fourth level.
yeah.
Is that feat you get part of your standard class fourth level thing, or is it on top of that, or is it instead of? Am I making sense?
It just says at fourth level you gain another bonus feat of your choice. It doesn't say that it replaces the ASI. So
Oh, so it says bonus feat, so
yeah,
it must be
so
another.
yeah, you still get the ASI.
Or could you have 3 feats by fourth level?
Technically, if you wanted to, yeah, you because as it's written there anyway, it seems
Yeah.
because they specifically say it's a bonus feat. So
Yeah.
you get you get a feat of first level, you choose that one. You get a feat of fourth level that is either an entirely different feat because you didn't pick a Heroes of Krynn background, or if you did pick a Heroes of Krynn background, there are feats that build on the initial feat as well. Excuse me. And then in addition to that, like you tick over onto level 4. You go, okay, you can choose an ASI or a feat, and then you also go, here's your extra bonus feat from your background. So like you were saying, yeah, technically by level 4 you can have 3 feats.
Yeah. I've always said that one of my favorite classes, just on how it's structured and how you build it, is Warlock, because at first level you choose your patron, at second level you choose your pact, whether it's blade or talisman or tome or whatever, or chain, and then at third level you choose your invocations, or yeah, and then at fourth level you get a feat. So even if 2 people are in a class were like, we're both going to play Warlock, they could each choose such different things in the first 4 levels that they could be playing entirely different people by fourth level, you know.
Oh yeah, and like that's
And,
what
and this kind of is a similar thing, because even if 2 people play fighter, and if they both pick battle master, but one is an archer and one is a longsword wielder, if they pick different archer related feats and melee related feats, they could be 2 entirely different characters by fourth level.
yeah, and you'll be powerful too. Like you sit there like a longsword user, battle master. Okay, so I'm going to take what, longsword user. So I'm going to take tough. I'm going to take mobile, and I'm going to take probably like heavy armor master as well, maybe because I'm probably in full plate. So I'll take that 3 damage
And
off
at
every hit.
early levels, heavy armor master is so good at early levels. It's ridiculous.
Am I incorrect? Because I never pick it. But am I incorrect in like heavy armor master is one where like you take 3 less damage per like 2 less bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage per hit, isn't it?
It's 3, but it's on every. It's not a reaction. It just happens,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's on
absolutely.
every single individual hit you take.
Yeah,
So like,
it stacks
if
up.
a
Like.
creature with multiple claws comes up to you and it bites you and claws you and claws you and hits you with its tail, for those 4 attacks, you're saving 12 health,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
It's really nice. Like it's really nice, and like the fact that like you're saying, like you could do the same with the archer. You will switch and say like you take your battle master archer instead, sharpshooter,
Elven accuracy.
elven accuracy. Yeah, so you can hit still if you miss. And then like oh jeez, I don't know what like
Skulker for when you're hiding.
Skulker, keen mind. What else could you pick? Like tavern brawler, tough. Isn't there like prodigy? Like there's so many.
Prodigy for like human or half elf, yeah.
Yeah, there's like so many you could pick up. I just really like that they seem to be really drilling down into, but like even in your early levels where you want to give you as much opportunity to express your character and who they are and exactly what makes them as much as possible, because that's what I love about D&D is like that ability to like I made this up and now it's a fully realized character and I'm playing it and it's awesome and it's dope and I get to do all the cool things I envisioned. It's like literally like I could see it like when I started playing Eru, I was like someday I'm going to do some crazy like demigod stuff, and then you made me an angel at level 15. Like, and like, you know, it's that kind of stuff. And it's all just like it's just stuff I really appreciate seeing coming into D&D, and like further customization, further specialization. And like I know some people can find that hard about the barrier for entry, but at least with these it's 1 and 4, so you've one extra thing to explain at level 1 to someone who's brand new. And at level 4, then by that time they usually have enough of a base level of game knowledge that the additional feat isn't going to be super confusing either.
It does make me wonder, because we've obviously been playing pretty much since 5th edition came out.
Yeah.
And we've spent a lot of that time learning the rules and how the game functions and where the restrictions are and where the lines are that you can't do this. So like there's stuff like Blade Singer, for example. You had to be an elf to be a Blade Singer, but now you don't. You can. I'm pretty sure when they republished it in Tasha's, they were like, with your DM's permission, you can be a Blade Singer of any race.
I'm fairly certain, yeah.
Yeah, and then like it's like, Wood Elves get bonuses to Wisdom, Dark Elves get bonuses to Charisma, and now it's like anyone can have a bonus to anything you want that suits your class best. And now we're seeing stuff where it's like, you can take multiple feats here, and when you pick your subclass, there's no restriction on this and there's no restriction on that. We're seeing a lot of the stuff being taken, a lot of stuff I think we've learned over the years and has been like hard coded into us. It's like, you can't do this because that doesn't go with this. But a lot of those have been taken away. And I do wonder from the perspective of someone who is just now getting into 5th edition, is it, and we'll probably never know because realistically no one can have both experiences and compare them, but is it easier when it had the restrictions and you could learn the rules, or when it has virtually no restrictions, is that easier to learn, or is that too open and too free form that it's so many options, how do I possibly choose, kind of thing, you know?
I totally get what you mean, because if you remember like recently, and we even talked about it on the podcast, I ran like a demon themed one shot that ended up in like 3 sessions over 6 weeks because people kept cancelling and moving stuff. But like for that one, like I distinctly remember the character creation process because I had 2 people who had never touched D&D before or had any real like they played like board games and stuff, but they wouldn't have had like tabletop RPG experience, like where you have to decide your stats and your build and all this kind of stuff. And like trying to walk people through like, so what kind of character, like I'd always be like, so what kind of character could you see yourself playing? And they're like, oh well, I don't really know. And I'm like, do you want to be like a fast sneaky person? Do you want to be like an archer person or like a range person? Do you want to be like a big tank just runs into the battle and smashes things? Or do you want to be like kind of a skills, like trying to basically throwing out as many archetypes as I can at them so I can get an idea of what they want to play, and then use my knowledge of the game to be like, okay, so you want to play this, so these 3 classes can go away, and then everything else is just down to what you like. So like trying to go from like, okay, right, what race do you want to be? Here's like 30 races.
That's the thing. Like I find like I recently ran a game for, I told you this, where I had like 4 of my friends from school. Now one of them had already played before, so he had a Divine Soul Sorcerer half elf. Perfect, great build, really good. I had 3 other people and they had virtually no knowledge of D&D. So if I show them, like, they don't know what a UNT is or a Triton or a Furball or anything like that. So if I show them that, that's a lot for them to take in at once.
Yeah.
So 2 of them ended up being elves. I think they were both wood elves actually, and one of them ended up being like a hill dwarf, I think. Which
Okay.
is just like but I mean like that's the context they have, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like some classes are easier to pick for new people
Yes.
because you can at least imagine the concept of that thing.
Yeah.
Whereas it's very difficult to be like, okay, so dwarves are like this, elves are like this, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, and also you have Triton and they can swim, and but they're not like water genasi who can also swim. And then there's a lot to kind of break down there.
I
And
explained Triton as Aquaman. A Triton is Aquaman. Do you want to be
they're
Aquaman?
basically
Yeah.
the Aquaman, the Atlanteans
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so it's but yeah, I know what you're saying about classes and stuff like that. I do like I think what I remember, you know, did you ever see the God, sorry, let me reset for a second here. Okay, done.
Okay.
Do you ever see that triangle thing of all the classes where it's like fighter is the top and that's like the most martial,
Yeah.
and then down the other corner you have rogue and that's the most skill based, and then the other corner you have wizard and that's the most magic based, and then everyone else fits in somewhere else on this triangle because it's always like, you know, that slider for like a color wheel or whatever. It's always like a combination of these other ones, you know.
Yeah.
If ever you're trying to pick a color for something in a video game, it's usually like the main colors on top and then it's black here and white here, and you can slide and you can turn the circle around it to like customize your colors and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. You need to be like, so like when I was trying to pitch it to the guys, I'm like, do you want to be like a rogue was a hard one to pin down because like yes,
Do you want
rogues
to
are
be
very
sneaky?
sneaky, but like yeah, but the thing is then like there's a lot more to rogues than just being
Do you
sneaky.
want to be sneaky and a thief, sneaky and assassin? Do you want to be sneaky and hear the voices of the dead in your head? Do you want to be sneaky and be a pirate?
Yeah, it would be swashbuckler, so good. But yeah, it was a lot of stuff. Sorry,
Swashbuckler's pretty damn good as someone who's
Swashbuckler's
DM'd
insane.
one for quite some time now.
But yeah, so it was hard to pitch because I could very easily be like, do you want to be like a knight who's like just a fighter? And I think the example I was giving there was like Aragorn or Jon Snow. You know, they're just fighters. They don't have magic or anything, but they do really, really well at swinging a sword or a weapon and using a shield and stuff like that. And then I was like, or do you want to be a wizard? Like, do you want to be like Gandalf, or do you want to be like Harry Potter or something like that? You know, someone who's going to be using a wand or a staff or whatever to cast spells. And then I was like, or do you want to be like a rogue? Do you want to be kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow-esque and you know, stuff like that? Someone who's a bit clever, kind of gets themselves out of tricky situations, not by brute force and not by magic, but by outsmarting someone maybe, or being quicker than someone else and kind of cunning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's always interesting to find out what people pick. My friend Diarmid was he ended up playing a bow and arrow wielding wood elf Psy Knight. Or Psy Warrior. He's saying Psy Knight. That was the UA. Psy Knight was the UA.
Title. Psy Knight is a much better title.
Psy Knight is. But he was playing a wood elf archer Psy Warrior. So he was like shooting psychically infused arrows at people.
That's so cool.
But the thing is, when I was like, so what kind of stuff do you have in mind? The first thing he said to me is, oh, like maybe like a Witcher kind of thing or something. So immediately I was thinking, okay. Well, I thought Bloodhunter, but like Bloodhunter's maybe a little bit more than a new player. Bloodhunter's, I feel, it's a little bit more complicated. But I was like, maybe Ranger. Ranger's not as complicated, but still just as good now because they've made a lot of updates to it. And I was kind of saying maybe something like that, where you have hunting abilities. And then he ended up leaning towards fighter. And he built, again, he's like, I want to be a Witcher. And I'm like, cool, let's build you a Witcher. And then he ended up with a wood elf Psy Warrior archer shooting like psychic force arrows and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's nothing like a thing, but it's definitely a cool character concept.
It's very cool. It reminds of in the Night Angel trilogy, there's this there's not the main character's master who the main character trains to be basically like a magic assassin under the best magic assassin in the city, and one of his mates is a guy called Scared Robble. And he's a guy he's called that because he's very, very good at imitating other people, and he does something similar where the magic system that's called the talent, and he manifests like ghostly arms with his talent. So he specializes in longbows, so he'll like be shooting a longbow to try and snipe someone, and then like while he's drawing this arrow, like ghost arms are pulling 4 more arrows out of the quiver and just holding them by his head for him
and getting ready to load them.
Yeah, and like as he like draws that back and lets go, a ghost arm puts another arrow back into his hand, and like there's a whole scene where he like nearly assassinates a god king because the guy's magic shields and reaction times aren't fast enough to deal with just this guy who's machine gunning arrows at him. It's so
That's
cool.
really cool.
It's so cool. But yes, the 4th level bonus feat. So this is where stuff starts to build on itself. So for example, we've got in the first. Oh sorry. That was the old way it went, wasn't it? Sorry, because you. I'm just doing a quick read over. But yes, so at 4th level you gain another bonus feat of your choice from either the first level list above. So you can, if you didn't take one then, for example, like if you went with a non-Krynn background and took skilled, then when you hit 4, you can now take tough if you want to. Or you can choose from these. So you've Adept of the Black Robes, Adept of the Red Robes, Adept of the White Robes, Alert from the Player's Handbook, Knight of the Crown, Rose and Sword, Mobile, Sentinel, and Warcaster, all from the Player's Handbook. Now
solid.
I was gonna say we'll get to the Krynn stuff and explain what those do now and any changes afterwards. But like, if purely looking at the Player's Handbook stuff, Alert +5 to your initiative, can't be surprised. Mobile, you
hit someone, can't take opportunity attacks on you, +10 feet of movement.
Sentinel, hit someone, they can't get away. Hit someone an opportunity attack, they cannot get away from you.
Warcaster, reactionary cantrips as an opportunity attack, and also advantage on concentration checks.
Yes, like all
some of the best spells or some of the best feats in the game.
Like I have burned ASIs to get these. Like they're really good. But like the we can go on to the Krynn ones now as well. So we've got basically black, red, and white robes and crown, rose, and sword. The same 3 that were in the previous one. Where we got Major High Sorcery. Am I on the? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so they're all there. Those are all the ones you can get. I think they'll be explained as we get down through the mage and the knight now. But just briefly, so the Adept of the Black Robes. Do you know what? It probably is better if we get into those after we do the next 2, because the next 2 kind of explain the base. So you have the Knight of Solamnia. Which is the first part of it here. Essentially, as same, there's in terms of how it's described, no real changes from the last time. Skill proficiencies with the Knight of Solamnia. Where are we? Previously, you got Athletic and Survival, and now same thing. 2 languages. 2 languages.
They dropped. It used to be 1 language. They dropped the musical instrument and they give you 2 languages instead now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 2 languages instead of the additional tool. And then the equipment, I believe, is the same as well. It is indeed. And you also get the same feature, the Squire of Solomonia previously. Feats there. Squire. So the Squire of Solomonia, you gain the Squire of Solomonia feat presented later in this document. So what that is as the Squire. There is a prerequisite for these, so you need to be a fighter or paladin class or Knight of Solamnia background. So you can still get this even if you are not a Knight of Solamnia. You just need to be a martial fighter paladin. Your training in the ways of Knight of Solamnia grants you these benefits. Mount up, so mounting or dismounting costs you only 5 feet of movement, which I believe is the same.
Is that where you're reading the prerequisite from? Is that a solid prerequisite you need to have, or is it just a suggestion?
Directly under the Squire of Solomonia title on the revisited one there, it says prerequisite fighter or paladin class or Knight of Solamnia background.
I'm not seeing that.
Like directly under Squire?
Knight of Solamnia. Remember the background, right?
Yeah, Knight of Solamnia. Then scroll down till you see the so you need to go down to the feat. Squire of Solomonia, which is what I'm looking at. Oh,
my apologies. This is very exciting podcasting, folks.
Correcting each other over a PDF. Yes, and so you need prerequisite fighter, paladin, or Knight of Solamnia as your background. Mount up, mounting or dismounting only costs you 5 feet of movement instead of which I believe it's half now if you mount or dismount.
It's normally half to mount or dismount something.
Yeah, so that's pretty solid. Let's see here. Yeah, which is different. So like you get Squire maneuvers, so you learn lunging it. You can learn the lunging attack, precision attack, or pushing attack maneuver from Battle Master, which is really good. It works out the same. To determine your DC, it's 8 plus proficiency bonus plus strength or dex, your choice, which is awesome. And when you finish, this is really cool. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace the maneuver you learned from this feat with another one from the list above. So every time you sleep, you can come out with a new Battle Master move.
I honestly, I kind of wish Battlemaster was the base fighter, as in a part of the core class, and everyone got special moves they could do. Like maybe some of them are specific to the subclass you pick.
Yeah.
But everyone got some Battlemaster maneuvers they could do, and then if you pick something, then that's like, if you pick, I don't know, the Psy Warrior, maybe they have specific like psionic related Battlemaster maneuvers that build on your existing thing, you know?
Yeah.
Just because I feel like all fighters should be able to disarm someone or push someone back, and or you know, try to use menacing attack and make them afraid of you because you're just so ferocious and stuff. But you know, Battlemaster's so great. We all love Battlemaster.
Yeah, Battlemaster's awesome. The longer I play D&D, the more convinced I am that everyone should be a Battlemaster, and Battlemaster should just be like tip top above everyone else and then get additional stuff. But so it works out the same as the Battlemaster superiority dice. You gain superiority dice equal to your proficiency bonus. The dice are d6, and you can use them only with the maneuver you gain from this feat, and with any maneuvers you gain from feats that have this feat as a prerequisite. So if you take Martial Adept, you cannot use your pool from this to do Martial
I was going to
Adept.
say that's interesting, because I was just about to flip my desk when they were like, you have as many uses of your superiority dice as you have proficiency bonus, and I was going to be like, cool. Martial Initiate is a terrible feat and I hate it. But yeah, that's actually what that feat realistically should be. But it's interesting that they put that restriction in there to mean you can only. Now that being said, lunging attack, precision attack, pushing attack, they're solid. They're 3 solid ones with them.
And you'll see as we go into the different character, the 3 different knight orders. What you were talking about, where everyone gets maneuvers and then you get specific ones built on your subclass or whatever.
That's how these are built out.
It actually comes into play with the knight.
Yeah, that's cool.
We might have to go a wee bit faster because they are running out of time slightly.
Focus on the martial ones for now.
Yeah, cool. We don't need to look at the trinkets and stuff. We'll just really focus on the crunch here. Yeah. So we'll just skip all the way down to the martial feats here instead, rather, because we kind of have explained what's going on now. These are all the adepts. Perfect. Right. So Knight of the Crown. This is the initial feat. This is the feat you get at 4th level. Prerequisite is 4th level and Squire of Solomonia. You gain +1 to your strength or dex up to a maximum of 20. When you take the crown, you learn crown maneuvers. You learn the distracting strike or goading attack from the Battlemaster subclass of the fighter in the player's handbook, which makes sense because from what I understand of the Order of the Crown, they're all about like protecting your allies and kind of working as a team to accomplish things.
They would be the ones that would run into if a monster was bearing down on a helpless citizen. They'd be the one to run in and go, "Hey, you big ugly thing, come over here and fight me," and you try to get them to attack you instead.
Yeah, they're the one that jumps in front of the dragon's breath with the shield up to block.
Yeah, exactly.
Similarly, DC equals 8 plus proficiency plus strength and dex. And then superiority dice. You gain 2 superiority dice, which you add to the dice you already have from Squire of Solomonia. And now the dice all scale up to D8, which is so good.
Just 2 additional on top of whatever your proficiency bonus is, right?
Yeah, so you gain 2 more. So let's say if you're level 13, you now have 6 dice you can use, and all those dice are now D8 instead of D6.
That's pretty good. Does that put you on par with?
But no, because Battlemaster will scale all the way to I think D10 or D12 by end of game.
They start out as D6s today.
I think they start out as 8s. I'm pretty sure D8s.
Oh, is it 8s? Nice.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. Knight of the Sword. Again, same prerequisites as the last one. But you also get an ASI. This one is to do with your wisdom or your charisma, up to a maximum of 20. And the sword maneuvers are you learn maneuvering attack, maneuvering or menacing attack from the Battlemaster subclass. So this one, their maneuvers focus more on like battlefield control and sort of moving people or in keeping certain people away, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So again, superiority dice, you gain 2 additional ones, and all your dice now scale to D8s. And then we have the Knight of the Rose. The ASI for this one is tied to Constitution and Charisma, again +1 to a maximum of 20. And then we have the Rose maneuvers. You learn the Commander's Strike or the Rally maneuver from the Battlemaster subclass of the fighter in Player's Handbook. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace this maneuver you learned from this feat with any other maneuver offered by. Is that in the other ones as well? Oh, it is, yeah. So all of them, Crown, Rose, and Sword. All of them, when you long rest, you can replace that, whatever one you took today.
With one of the 2 that they offer for each specific. Yeah,
you can basically swap it out to have a different one every day. from that list, which is awesome. Oh yeah, so sick. So like you get basically you take the squire and you get like lunging attack, precision attack, or pushing attack, and then you go crown, sword, or rose, and you can get distracting strike, goading attack for crown. For sword, you can get maneuvering attack or menacing attack, and then for rose, you can get where's rose?
Commander Strike or Rally.
Thank you. I couldn't find it for some reason on my page. Commander Strike or Rally, and all of them. So regardless what you take, you're getting a +1 to your main stat. You're getting extra superiority dice. You're getting extra maneuvers, and you can now change out the maneuver you have from that specific one every time you sleep. These are really, really fun, really powerful, really flavorful feats. I love that you get different battle master maneuvers based on what the specialty of your order is. Like with Crown, where they're about protecting others and serving the realm, and then like Rose are about being leaders and all that kind of stuff. And even the Squire one, where it's just your base feat, like your base level of the feat at level 1. Like level 1, you can have lunging attack, precision attack, or pushing attack. Like that's pretty solid. Like
I'm just looking at like if you took both of these and you were a battle master as well.
You can also have membership in multiple knightly orders, as is called out by this. Oh no, sorry. Knights of Stamia are only ever members of one of their organization's orders. In the course of their training, most knights begin as members of Knights of the Crown, and then they move to join the others. Whether a character follows this path or another, they retain what they learned as a member of an order, even if they join another. Characters can change what knightly order they're part of, but always have access to any Knight of Solomonia feats they've acquired. So if you want to, you can go Crown, Rose, Sword as you level.
And
you retain
the
skills you learn.
Wait a sec, does that stack then?
Yeah.
Like so if I'm level 1, I pick Squire. I get to level 4, and then I'm like, cool, I pick Crown now. And that means I now have let's just say I'll have my 2 plus my proficiency, which is 2. So I'll have 4 uses of that, and I'll have my Squire maneuvers, and I'll have my 1 out of 2 Crown maneuvers.
Yeah.
Then when I get to my next ASI, which is 6, 8 for fighter, it's early. It's like 6, I think. I get to have another one from that, and then do I get another +2 on top of that again? So I'm gonna have 2 + 2 plus my proficiency in terms of superiority dice.
It says when they retain what they learned as a member of an order, even if they join another order. So I think the way I'd rule, because it's sort of unclear in here, but I think
whenever a character follows a pattern, they retain what they learned as members. Characters can change what knightly order they're part of, but always have access to it.
I'd let them hang on to like the maneuvers that they learn, but I wouldn't say that
you wouldn't give them more superiority dice.
I'd know if you're burning an ASI for it, I might. But then like
here's the thing, and maybe this is not the intent, but this is the way it's kind of phrased in my mind. At the third part of each of these feats is a superiority die thing. It says you gain 2 superiority dice, which are added to the dice you have gained from the Squire of Solomonia feat. In my mind, the way that's written is if I pick all 3 of these feats, I get 2 additional dice for each feat, on top of whatever I have, which is my proficiency bonus for being a Squire.
Yeah.
So by the time I hit level 20, okay, let's break this.
You're leaving out as well that because each of them also has a stat increase tied to it, you can get 6 additional superiority die, 6 additional maneuvers, and 3 additional stat points.
Like, okay, I'm gonna break this, okay?
Okay.
We do a full 1 to 20 fighter.
All right.
Battle master. We have 6 maneuvers at 15th level. So I have 6 superiority dice, which scale up.
By then,
to,
I think they're D10.
I think they cap out at D10s, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah.
Then, how many maneuvers do I know? I know 3 maneuvers at first, and then I learned 2 additional maneuvers of my choice at 7, 10, and 15. So I know 6 and 3. I know 9 maneuvers, and I have 6 dice. Then I have a Squire feat, which gives me 6 dice at that at 20th level, and then I pick each of these. I get 6 more, so that's 12 plus 9. So I've 12 dice that are D8 dice.
Yeah.
And then I have 9 dice that are D10s.
Yeah.
And then I know how many feats or how many maneuvers did I say I get? 2, 2, and 2. No,
6.
sorry, I have 6 and 6, 12 and 6. I have 12. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. I have 12 D8 dice, which I get from my feats. And then I have 6 D10 dice that I get from being a battle master, on top of 9 maneuvers known as a battle master.
Yeah.
And how many do I get as the Squire one?
You get 6 from Squire, and then if you do the 3 orders, you get an additional 6. So that's another 12.
Well, you get 4 in total because you learn 1.
Yeah.
You can only have 1 learned per
that's
feat
it,
out of a selection. So I'm going to have at least 4 more on top of the 9 that I know, which is 13 maneuvers and potentially 18 superiority dice that I could choose from.
And action surge and 4 attacks around.
An action surge, 8 attacks around. Yeah. Because if you action surge a 20 level fighter, you're attacking 8 times in that round.
And by 20 level fighter, you can action surge twice.
Yes. And on top of that, if you pick, like, just for the laugh, you pick even though it's terrible, the martial adept feat.
Yeah.
Where you get two more maneuvers,
and
I think, and then 1 more dice.
Yeah.
That would be an insanely cool build.
But see, the problem, and we're kind of going off topic a little, but the problem with that is not all the Battle Master moves are good.
No, but like some of them are situational. But when here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If you want a Swiss Army, if you have a choice of carrying a tool, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm probably never going to use a cork opener, but it'd be nice to have one. But I'm going to opt for the knife.
Yeah.
Well, what if you have a knife and a saw and a toothpick and whatever and a million other things? At a certain point, having the corkscrew is just handy to have there because I already have a Swiss Army knife with everything else on it.
You can open a bottle of wine with a shoe anyway.
Can you open a bottle of wine with a shoe?
I've seen it. You put the bottle of wine into the sole. It's not important. I'll tell you after the podcast.
I feel like our viewers want to know, Martin.
Okay, so you put the bottle of wine into the heel of the shoe. It needs to be a shoe with a big heel, and then you tie the laces tight around the shoe, and then you literally batter the shoe off a wall until the cork gets forced out by the internal pressure.
So as you kind of bang it off the wall, the cork just like slips up.
Yeah,
further.
hang on, I have a shoe nearby. Like, you literally put the bottle of wine in here, into the top of the shoe, tie the
with
shoe
the nozzle
up,
out,
and you go bang, bang. Oh, I just hit myself in the face with shoelaces. You just literally go bang, bang, bang with the bottle of wine, and the cork
just
goes
kind of gradually pops out.
I've seen it.
Okay.
Anyway,
there's something you didn't think you'd learn today, folks.
And that was a feat, I'll tell you. But yes, we can quickly go through the mage one because I do want to actually cap off all these. So real quick, the base feat for the mage
is the Initiative High Sorcerer.
Initiative High Sorcerer. Do you have that to hand? Do you want to run through it, and I'll do the adept ones?
Yes. So choose one of the 3 moons of Krynn, the infantry magic. Black Moon, Nutari. The red moon, Lunatari, and the white moon, Solinari. Mm-hmm. You learn 1 cantrip of your choice from the wizard spell list, and 2 first level spells on the moon you choose as specified in the lunar spells table. We'll get that in a second. Mm-hmm. You can cast each of the chosen spells without expending a spell slot. You must finish a long rest before you can do so again. You can cast the spells using other spell slots you have. We've seen that before. Mm-hmm. Your spellcasting ability is your choice of wisdom, charisma, or intelligence. You choose when you choose this feat. For Nutari, we have Dissonant Whispers, False Life, Hex, and Ray of Sickness. Again, very Warlock kind of based. Lunatari is Color Spray, Disguise Self, Feather Fall, and Longstrider. And Solinari is Comprehend Languages, Detect Good and Evil, Protection from Good and Evil, and Shield.
They're all super useful. Like, just getting Shield for my background? Okay. Yeah. Definitely.
Shield is just the absolute. It's such a good spell.
It's why I give 2 of the bosses in this arc Shield as a thing. But yeah, so the feats then that come with that, we've got Adept of the Black Robes, requires you to have Initiative High Sorcery. You choose New Authority as your influence for your magic. Ambitious Magic, you learn one second level spell of your choice. The second level spell must be from enchantment or necromancy. You can cast this feat's second level spell without a spell slot, and then you must finish a long rest before you can do this in this way again. But importantly, you can also cast this spell using spell slots you have of the appropriate level. The spell casting ability is the one chosen when you gain the Initiate of High Sorcery feat.
That was the Black Robes, right?
It's the Black Robes, correct. And then you have Life Channel. You can channel, which is really cool. You can channel your life force into the power of your magic. When a creature you can see within 60 feet fails a saving throw against a spell that deals damage that you cast, you can expend a number of hit die equal to the level of the spell. So if you do a 5th level lightning bolt, you can expend an additional 5 hit dice onto the lightning bolt. The damage, you can expend a number of hit dice equal to the level of the spell. Roll the expended hit dice and add them together. The damage the creature takes then increases by an amount equal to that total. So you can basically, it's just another way to use your hit die, which a lot of the time, unless you're taking a lot of short rests, don't really get used that often. So like you can take the chance here where, yeah, I might not be able to heal up on a short rest, but I can really hurt this one thing. I can really hurt it.
This gives me some like blood magic vibes where you're shedding your own blood to like invigorate your own magic.
Yes. It's very
cool.
Just
in the interest of time, when it comes to the red robes and the white robes, they have the same so the ambitious magic feature is the insightful magic when it comes to the red robes. Yeah. Instead of necromancy and enchantment, it is illusion and transmutation, but it functions very much the same.
Very nice.
And then when it comes to the white robes, it is abjuration and divination. And again, functions very much the same. And then they have their own secondary features as well. Red robes is when you make an attack roll or an ability check and roll a 9 or lower on a d20, you can balance fate and treat it as a 10. You can balance fate in this way a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That's basically a reliable talent from a rogue, which is pretty cool.
That's really good to have on a spellcaster. And then the special one, the one for the white robes is Protective Ward. When you are a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend a spell slot and weave protective magic around the target. Roll a number of d6s equal to the level of the spell slot expended and reduce the damage the target takes by the total rolled on those dice, plus your spellcasting ability modifier. Again, very unique, very cool. Lots of really, really good. Like, you could stop someone, that you can use this on a disintegrate and literally save someone's life.
Yeah, I do. I really like that last one because, you could be playing a cleric of the white robes, and not only can you heal people, you can block them before they even take the damage as well. So, and clerics are really, really good casters, you know. So like you can do quite a lot with that. I like those. Having the additional spells is always fun from the ambitious, insightful, and protective abilities.
Yeah.
But the protective ward, life channel, and magical balance things are really, really fun abilities.
Yeah, and it's very flavorful and very like unique to the specialty. Again, similarly to the Rose Crown and Sword maneuvers, all very much flavored and tied to the things that particular order is interested in. Actually, quite similar to the Strixhaven stuff like Prismarily and Witherbloom and all that, where they specialize in specific kinds of magic. Because
this is, I mean, I think we mentioned it last time we talked about it. This is very, very heavily inspired by the same mechanical makeup of all the Strixhaven stuff.
Oh, 100%, 110%, yeah.
But Martin.
Yes, Connor.
That's all the time we have for today.
Alrighty, and that was we definitely got sidetracked a lot. But hey, you learned how to open a bottle of wine with a shoe, and you're welcome.
I mean, if that isn't worth a thumbs up on this video, I don't know what is.
If that isn't truly the magic of D&D, someday someone is going to be someone is going to listen to this before they go to a house party, and they're going to arrive at that house party, and someone will have a bottle of wine,
and no cork,
no corkscrew, and someone will be like, "Oh no, I forgot my corkscrew," and then you can go, "Aha!"
And you'll open that bottle of wine, and everyone will be like, "That's fantastic! Where'd you learn to do that?" And you'll just be like, Micflayers.
Every Friday, 6 p.m. Irish time. Connor, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on the internet at 0.Conor, ZeroPointConor, 1N, very important. And you can also find me every Friday here on the Micflayers podcast at 6 p.m. Irish time on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, and Radio Republic. Martin, where can
Hey.
people find you on the internet?
Mostly you can find me on Twitter for my sins. So sorry it's over. You can also find me on the Micflayers podcast Twitter account at Micflayerspod. Quite a lot I man that, particularly if you see any like strange or memey tweets, usually about 3 a.m. Irish time, like my infamous tweet about Boblin the Mob Goblin Hobgoblin. Yeah, sorry. It's a good tweet, I swear. But yes, those are where you can mainly find me on the internet, aside from our regular appearances every Friday at 6 p.m, as we said, Irish time, on a new episode of the Micflayers podcast. So it'll be a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Conor, and we will see you next week for another brand new episode. Bye bye.
Bonjour.